Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family.
So Melissa and I had, believe it or not, a really interesting conversation on a walk. If you've listened to the podcast,
We sound like broken records.
most of our conversations that are really awesome happen on walks. And it inspired today's podcast episode. I want to start, though, by reading a quote from this really amazing family in Texas, the Nickersons. They went through Family Brand maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And here's what they said they were sharing their experience of Family Brand, but some of what they shared in their testimonial was really relevant to today's episode. They said, "We live in a world where there's a lot of noise about racial equality, social justice, political affiliations. A lot of things are pulling at us for their attention. Like a lot of families, we were spending a lot of time talking about what we don't like, but not spending enough time talking about our own values. Family Brand gave us the opportunity to pinpoint who we are as a family and what we value as a family." And I think this is cool, not as a plug for Family Brand, but it just says the program was set up in a way that everyone in our family, from our 10-year-old to our 89-year-old father who lives with us, was able to speak into this. And that was by Ian and Sharita Nickerson, which, again, just awesome, awesome family. And the conversation Melissa and I were having the other night was very similar in that, man, we live in such a highly politicized, polarized, sadly seems like more and more divisive world, or at least that's what maybe, I don't know, the media would want us to believe, that I think it's never been easier to let our attention go there. And I love the quote. I can't remember who said this, but where attention goes, energy flows. And look, all of us only have so much energy in a day, and we do the best we can to manage that energy, I think, and be intentional with our energy. But like the Nickersons family was saying, I think sometimes without even realizing it, we're letting a lot of our energy escape into things that at the end of the day don't actually matter that much to our family. And every bit of attention and energy that I allow to go somewhere else is attention and energy that I don't have for my family. And is the trade-off worth it? And I've gotten wrapped up in it before. If I'm not careful, I can get really pulled into and really sucked into a political issue or something happening in on the other side of the world, and look, I'm not saying that there's not things that aren't worthy of your attention, especially depending on what's important to you and what you value. But I have found that there have been plenty of times in my life where I'll allow my attention to get sucked into something, and then I start putting a lot of energy there inadvertently. And when I really sit back, it's like, it's not even something that I am that passionate about. It's not something that I care that much about, but I can get so wound up and so polarized by it and so upset and frustrated. And then I have to sometimes step back and be like, wait, A, do I really care about this? Is this really impacting me? And what is this energy taking me away from? Because if it's taking me away from the core of what's most important, which is my relationship with Melissa, my relationship with God, my relationship with my kids, then I have to really question, is that worth it? And so I think today for me, more than anything, I just think it's a reminder to me that I want to just talk about is, where are we allowing our attention to go? Because wherever your attention goes, your energy is going to flow. And is that worth it? And how can we be maybe a little bit more intentional about what we give our attention to?
I remember on the walk, you kind of brought up this scenario where you kind of walked through, what the loss or diverted attention might translate into in your life. I thought that was really insightful.
Yeah, well, someone actually recently asked me, and I feel like most of us probably get asked these things. What do you think about so-and-so in the news? What do you think about this particular policy? What's your take or your stance on this? And it's almost like, I don't know if it's because it's I don't know if it's because it's never been easier to take a stance. You can take a stance on virtually anything very quickly by posting it on social media. I don't know if that's why it is, but it also seems that more people are interested in what your stance is on pretty much anything and everything. And I had some recently, like, and throughout the years, I've had people be like, well, who do you vote for president? What's your political party? What do you think about this issue? What do you think about that policy? And again, I can get really pulled into that if I'm not careful. And so I'll just share, what Melissa's talking about. They were asking me for my take on a particular person, somewhat of a, like, I guess, a controversial figure. And also what I think about, something that recently took place that's in the news, which I'm being highly vague because there's lots of things that recently took place that in the news, but it doesn't matter the particular thing.
Yeah, even if you listen to this, 2 years from when this recording, it would be applicable.
And someone said, well, what are you thinking about that? What are you worried about? And I was like, I could be thinking about that and I could be worried about that, but actually what I've been thinking about lately and what I'm focused on is, like, I have this amazing wife, and I was talking about Melissa, who has some really important goals right now around certain things that are really important to her. And I'm thinking about, like, how do I support her in that? I have one of my children in particular right now that I think could use my fatherly influence and my role as a father and what it means to be a man, maybe than at any other time in their life. I have another child who has some really important goals around, like, sports and wanting to, like, level up their mindset. And I'm really committed to helping them with that. I have another child who's entering an age where I think self-worth and self-image is, like, more important than ever. And I want to really help that particular child understand that their worth and is inherent regardless of what people think of them. And they don't need to look and dress a certain way. I have another child who's also maybe even more committed to sports, and another child and wanting to get better at that. I have another child that has never really found their thing, I think, and maybe started stumbling into their thing, and it's horses. And I've been trying to spend a lot of time with that particular child around that and foster that with them. I have, 14 full-time team members that look to me to provide for them and their families. And one of those team members in particular, has some real challenges at home with some of their children. And I'm thinking often about them and praying for them. And so my point in saying all this was, like, not that I'm oblivious to what's going on in the world, but, like, if I just think about between my own home and my team, the amount of attention and energy that requires and that I want to give it and that I could give it, I really wouldn't have much attention and energy left. And if I'm not careful, I can get pulled into so many other things that I don't have much attention and energy for Melissa, my 5 children, my team. I'm coaching 8th grade girls basketball. I want those 9 girls to know how much they matter and how much, like, how amazing they are, and how, yes, we're talking about basketball, but it's about your life. And so that was kind of the example and the analogy that I gave of.
I'm thinking of this quote. It's attributed to Mother Teresa, which, funny story, we used to, for a minute, we had this quote on our website, and someone reached out to me and they're like, she didn't actually say that, which, so maybe she didn't actually say it, but.
Go do something else with your time. Seriously.
But it said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. I might have not got that quite right, but if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And whether she did say it or didn't say it, I think it's a really beautiful idea that our influence is so powerful in our homes, like more powerful than possibly anywhere else in the world, because we are raising these people who are going to go on and out into the world, who are going to lead in their own ways. And, if this is oversimplified, but if every family was focused on, their own home, like, that would solve the equation for a lot of the challenges that we're facing. And I think the other thing to point out is not just, like, bury our heads in the sand, lock our door in the sand, lock our doors, and we're never, like, going to give to a cause, or we're never going to support other people. Like, that's not it at all. Like, I think Chris and I think it's super important that our kids, like, stand for something, and that they know, where we stand as a family on certain issues, and that one thing that we've decided we like doing is there's a homeless population nearby, and we recently have been feeding them on Sundays. So we'll, like, make a meal together and we'll take it over to there and feed, 20 to 30 people on a Sunday. But that is a way that we're reaching out, that we've decided and identified, like, this is important to us. This is how we want to impact our local community. So I think that's another important part of the conversation, is maybe getting clear on what are the issues that you want to support and how do you intend to do that as a family, but not just getting like pulled every different direction when every new thing or issue arises.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to, if you're not careful, if you're not careful, you'll dedicate the majority of your energy and attention, or maybe more than necessary, to things that are actually outside of your life. It's in the world. And so I think maybe just something for all of us to look at is how much attention and energy am I giving to and dedicating to my life? And your life that's unique to you. Again, like Melissa said. And that can include some of the causes you care about, or the things that the things that you're like, no, this is something I'm really willing to give a lot of attention and energy. I just think the riskier things are the things that we don't even intend to give a lot of attention and energy to, but we end up doing it at the expense of things that are way more important. And I believe that if you dedicate the majority of your attention and energy to your life and the things that are most important to your life, that is how you actually create real influence and change out there in the world. Just because you give a lot of attention and energy to something doesn't mean you have any influence over it at all. And I think that's the biggest, like, what a bummer, right? To dedicate a lot of attention and energy to something, to give a lot of attention and energy, you give a lot of your life to something that at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for that attention and energy other than frustration. And it's like you had very little influence over it. And so when you said that, Melissa, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to give attention and energy to something. But how do we make sure that we're giving attention and energy to the things that we actually can influence, that will ultimately have the biggest impact?
One other thing we talked about is, I think it's easy to, it doesn't feel like this in the moment, but I think if you really step back and look, it's like I being bullied in a way into having an opinion on this and into like taking a stance on this, because people are asking me, and people are like almost demanding, like, you need to, I've seen many people be posting on social media, like, people want to know, like, where do you stand on this? And you feel like you need to, or you have to have this opinion, and you have to make a post about it, or you have to like take a stance on it. But I feel like a lot of times it doesn't come from an authentic place for people, like that they really feel called to make a stance, or they really feel like they want to say something on the issue. But I feel like I have to, because it's like like being bullied into that in a way.
Yeah, totally. Like, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to take a stance on something just because someone wants you to. I had this in particular one time around something political where someone was really, really pushing me, and I just said, look, you know what, you want to know what my stance is? And they're like, yeah, because they've been pushing for me. I was like, my stance is I don't take a stance on people, politics, or policies. Like, I take a stance on true principles, at least what I believe are true principles: love, faith, compassion, courage, commitment, resiliency, consistency, possibility. I would way rather put my energy into principles that I think benefit anyone than my views or my stance on people, politics, or policies. First and foremost, because quite frankly, I don't think I've earned the right in most situations to take a stance or have a view on people, policies, or politics, because I don't study it enough. And I'm not willing to, because I'm not willing to dedicate that attention and that energy into people, politics, or policies, because I feel like my attention and energy is better used elsewhere. And a lot of people say, well, that's just a cop out. I'm like, okay, well, call it whatever you want. And I think, again, that's another thing, is like, it's just so easy to have a view on things without really being informed. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm right. That's just what I've chosen. That's what I've chosen to do. But yeah, you don't owe anyone an explanation, and you don't have to be pressured into like taking a stance or having a view. And I think it's really useful if people have earned the right to do that to some degree by actually studying it and actually being informed. And look, I feel and by the way, there's so many nuances to that, right? Like, if I did go to take a stance on politics or a particular policy or people, like, I would only feel comfortable with that if I'd actually really studied it and felt like I'd earned the right to actually say something, meaningful about it. And the saddest part, though, is it's very tempting to take a stance and have a view on people, politics, and policies, especially if it's divisive, because that gets the most views. It's like so sad to me that the things that are the most engaging, the most tantalizing, if you will, that people want to consume is the most negative, polarizing, divisive content. And the content that gets the least amount of views is content that's about true principles. And so it's like sometimes people feel the pressure of playing the game. I'd rather share principles that might get less attention than my stance or my view on, certain topics or issues. And again, nothing wrong though with sharing your view and your stance on anything, especially if it's something you really feel like you've earned the right to and you really feel strongly about. Yeah, share it. And this podcast episode is way less about sharing your views or your stance, which I think this is a cool conversation. For me though, it's like, how do I protect my attention? And I don't even think about it like protecting my energy. I used to think about it that way. Your energy is a byproduct of your attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. So rather than like, how do I conserve my energy? It's how do I actually protect my attention? Because whatever I give attention to, energy has to go there. And if you find at times that willpower isn't working, meaning you're like, I don't love how I feel after being on Facebook for 3 hours. My attention goes there, then I give energy to it, I get wrapped up, but I can't not do it. Well, then you're going to have to like take Facebook off your phone. And you're going to have someone change your password for a time. I don't know. But I've had to do that before where I feel like I'm giving way too much attention to something. And if my attention can stay more focused on my real life, and that's where my energy goes, I find I'm happier. I find I'm more fulfilled. I feel more satisfied with my contribution. And I feel like I'm actually making a difference in an area of life where I have true, real influence.
So takeaway for today, I would say, and add to this, is an audit of your life. Like, where am I giving my attention? Is there anywhere where I'm giving my attention that I maybe want to take back some of that attention or time? Because, maybe I can't influence there, or it actually isn't aligned with who I am or who I want to be. And then secondly, maybe there is somewhere where you do want to give more attention, but you haven't yet. So I think those are two opportunities to look at this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a blessed week. All right. So that is it for today's episode of the Family Brand Podcast.
But before you go, we have something fun for you.
Yeah. Like if you've ever wondered, okay, so how's our family culture actually doing? We've got an incredible quiz for that.
Good news, it's quick, it's free, and when you're done with that quiz, we'll even email you this awesome PDF full of practical ways to strengthen your family culture right away.
So all you have to do is go to familybrand.com/quiz, take the quiz, grab the PDF.
We'll see you next time.